This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
Following the decision of some state governments to close schools in observation of Ramadan, this morning we discussed the legality of this move and whether it can be challenged in court. The federal system of government allows for states to make their own laws as long as they don't contravene the constitution of the land. With the rights to education guaranteed by the 1999 Constitution as amended, how legal is this decision by 4 states in the north? Our guest is Bulus Atson, former chairman of the Nigeria Bar Association, Abuja chapter. Mr. Atson, good morning. Thank you for joining us on the conversation.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
So, is this decision by the states a contravention of the constitutional right to education?
So the question we should first ask is whether the state government has the power to make such a policy. And the answer, I believe, would be yes. The issue of education is in the concurrent list of the Constitution. So both state and federal governments can make laws or policies on education. So yes, the state has the powers to make policies on education. However, in the context of this particular policy, which appears to affect the rights of other citizens, I think it's a bit of a deviation from what is expected of a government, more so that it would appear that the policy is not, well thought out. It's like something that was done on the prompt of the idea. A policy like this should ordinarily be open to public scrutiny, let the government vet it, and make major changes. But a situation where, schools are closed abruptly, and this affects states like Kebbi, which is leading in the number of out of school children. It's quite worrisome.
So, Mr. Atson, let me take you back a moment, right? We're coming back to this matter of the right to education. We did speak with an officer from the Ministry of Education in Bauchi, and for Bauchi in particular, he tells us that before the school year began, they had consulted widely with public and private schools, the associations, everybody essentially. And so when they put the calendar together, they had made room for this period, in Bauchi, it's a 5-week holiday, right? I'm curious, the constitutional right to education is a right that's granted to every single Nigerian. Now, if this policy was subjected to a vote, for instance, by the people of Bauchi, and a majority of them voted in line with the policy, does it still contravene the right to education for those who did not vote for it?
So, government generally has one form of social exclusion or the other. And it is more so of democracy, which in the first instance, the government is formed by the majority. So there are chances that some of the decisions that such government will pursue will most likely favor the majority, and to a large extent or some extent discriminate against the minority. Even in the state assembly or national assembly, votes are by simple majority. Your ideas may be right, but if the majority doesn't vote in favor of your idea, it may be just. If the majority doesn't vote in favor of it, it will most certainly amount some sort of social inclusion. And in the case of Bauchi, which you said, the government consulted widely and made adjustments for it, I think only time will tell as to the implications of these adjustments, because Bauchi ranks as number 5 with the highest number of out-of-school children, about 55 point something percent, right? So if in the course of time we see this number declining, then we can say, okay, it seems like it has done something well that other states that are mindful of closing down schools during Ramadan can learn from. But in the interim, it leaves so much for us to observe.
Right. So, Mr. Atsen, there have been a number of negative reactions to this from across the country. Is it possible to challenge the decision in court, and who would have the right to bring such a challenge before the courts?
Is it possible to challenge it? Anything can be challenged in court. Anybody who is aggrieved by a policy of government or action of any individual can challenge such actions in court. The reactions, particularly on social media, have been largely emotional and based on religious sentiments. Even the defenses have been based on religious sentiments. But I think there's quite more to it than meets the eye. I mean, if you can take an example of a state like Borno, Borno simply adjusted its timetable, its closing time, from whatever time it was to 12. So by 12, all schools close, and people get to participate in their fasting activities. So yes, people can challenge it in court. Those who are aggrieved by the policy, and it is not just anybody. It has to be either a student, a teacher, or a parent whose ward or child is affected by this policy.
All right. Well, Mr. Atsen, thank you very much for your time and expertise on this conversation. Bulus Atsen is a legal practitioner and the former chairman of the Nigeria Bar Association Abuja chapter, joining us this morning to speak on the legality of 4 northern states in Nigeria choosing to close down educational institutions for the Ramadan fast.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.